Did you know that even the best couples argue? So, if everyone is arguing, why is it that some relationships just seem to go down in a blaze of glory while others last the test of time? There tends to be this misconception that the best relationships never argue. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's an impossible standard to live up to, and it sets the couple up for failure and dissatisfaction because they can't reach this unattainable goal of never arguing. It's just not possible. You're two people with two different sets of beliefs and experiences. You're going to disagree. So, what makes the difference between a couple that lasts and the couple that just can't keep it together? What makes the difference between whether or not a couple will be successful or not is really how they manage the conflict that arises within their relationship. So, here's 4 tips on how to navigate conflict so that you're better able to have a more positive feeling towards your partner afterwards instead of building up those negative sentiments towards them. The first step is hands down listening with empathy and to understand your partner's perspective. According to the Gottman Institute, about 60% of of arguments that happen within relationships are what's considered perpetual arguments, right? Meaning that there's no cut and dry solution. And these tend to be around labor distribution, finances, and sex life. When both people leave the conversation feeling like they've been heard and that their point of view has been understood by their partner, it's okay that the problem wasn't solved. It's the fact that our partner understands why we feel the way we do. And that then leaves us feeling with positive feelings towards our partner because we don't feel like they just haven't heard anything that we've said. How do we show that we're listening with empathy and we are trying to understand our partner's perspective? Simply by just summarizing what they've said in your own words and saying, am I understanding correctly? Is this is what I'm hearing? Is this right? And inviting them into a dialogue to help clarify where you may be misinterpreting this. The second idea you may want to consider is to schedule a time to have these difficult conversations. Nobody likes to be blindsided right after work when they're tired or first thing in the morning or anything like that, to have these hard conversations because you're just physically and mentally not in that mindset. So, one thing you may want to consider is actually scheduling a time for you to sit down to discuss the status of your relationship. Make sure you're both on the same page. Are we both happy here? What are we both thinking? What are we both feeling? Are we still working towards the same goal? And by scheduling a time, either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, just like at work when you're going to have those team collaboration meetings to check in with everybody to make sure that we're all still working towards the same goal, our relationships really are no different. Scheduling that time in advance in a neutral area where both parties are able to say, okay, these are the things that are bothering me. These are my suggestions for fixing it. And what are your thoughts? The third thing that you can do is to make sure that you are staying focused on the things that you have control over, which are your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. We can control our actions and how we respond to things. You are focused on what you have control over. You offer solutions that you can do to help resolve the problem. You're taking that personal accountability and how you're contributing to the issue at hand. And that helps with your partner feeling like they've been heard. I hear that this is a concern for you. Okay, I can do X, Y, and Z to help resolve this issue. Does that work for you? Lastly, if you feel yourself being flooded, and by flooded, I mean you start to get emotionally overwhelmed, your body is just in full fight or flight, adrenaline pumping, I need to take a break kind of, then take a break. It's okay to pause the conversation and say, I need to step away for a few minutes, get myself together, Can we come back to this in an hour once I've had a chance to kind of think through what you have said? Absolutely, hands down, perfectly okay to do that. You have to come back to have that, finish that conversation though. To not do so is really, it's just not fair. And I don't want to give the impression that this is, oh, it's an easy thing to do. You just make the decision, because it's not. Even I struggle with this sometimes. I get angry. I get flooded just like everybody else. And I have to make conscious effort to rein myself in and say, okay, you're allowed to feel how you're feeling right now. And you're allowed to feel upset by the statements that they're making. However, recognize that they are also allowed to feel how they feel about their own experiences. And both things can be true at the same time. It's a lot easier to just let the boat be driven by our emotions instead of actively reminding ourselves to take some deep breaths, try to come from a perspective of understanding, and recognizing that our partner's experiences are just as valid as our own. You really do already have the skills you need to be able to communicate effectively. It's just, are we willing to give ourselves and our partners the grace necessary to be able to implement these tips to help things go a little bit smoother? I want to thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video. I definitely want to hear from you. What are some of your tips and tricks to help smooth over arguments? Maybe you have a funny way to manage discord in your relationship. Have you tried scheduling time and meeting with your partner to have these more difficult conversations? How did that go? What was that like for you? And as always, if you would like additional information about today's topic, you can find more resources and references down in the description box below. I hope that you found today's video helpful and that you will give it a like and you'll hit subscribe. Until next time, please take care of each other.